Thanks for stopping by. This is Salesforce Simplified, the podcast from Ad Victoriam Solutions.
So if you are a fan of Salesforce Service Cloud and you are a fan of field service, you have come to the right place today. Hi, everyone. I'm Mike Boyle from Ad Victoriam Solutions. This is the Salesforce Simplified podcast. And today we are thrilled to have Salesforce's Senior Solutions Engineer, George Higgins, here with us today to talk about specifically Salesforce Field Service Automation. George, welcome to the Salesforce Simplified podcast. We are thrilled to have you with us today.
Yeah, glad to be here, Mike, and glad to be here on the podcast. I've been a listener in the past and kind of pinching myself being on the show now today.
Well, I thank you for being here and just continue to spread the word for us. That's all I would ask of you. George, before we get into talking specifically about field service automation, why don't you tell us a little bit about your role there at Salesforce?
Yeah, so I am a solution engineer in the CBS, the core business services space, dealing with a lot of companies in the mid-market area. So, companies between 200 to 1,000 employees, supporting all types of different professional services. So whether that's, consulting services, waste management, all types of different professional services fall into that category. And I, as a solution engineer and a technical resource, I work with a team of account executives, learning about our customers' businesses and figuring out how Salesforce can help them solve some of their challenges. And field service is definitely something that comes up a lot.
Well, let's begin there, George. Let's talk a little bit about exactly what Salesforce Field Service is for those who may not know.
Yeah, I guess take a little step back. Field service in general, that's the part of an organization that's going to deploy a worker to actually go in person and perform a service for your customer. So, like I mentioned, that includes a lot of different use cases. There's transportation, repair services, telecom, waste management, financial services, all types of different in-person services are being provided across all types of different industries. And, that's where Salesforce Field Service comes in. It's an automated system that can really help with all the different moving parts that go into actually going on site and helping a customer solve their issue. You think about all the different factors that go into that. We need to schedule an appointment with the customer. Often that's done with a service agent. Then somebody needs to actually dispatch a resource, and then that resource needs to show up to the appointment and actually help that customer. So field service is built to kind of automate that process and optimize and give your customers that delighted experience they're expecting.
Well, as part of a Salesforce Service Cloud solution, many companies integrate Salesforce Field Service into their Service Cloud. Talk about why companies would do that.
I love that you mentioned integrate because Salesforce Field Service is actually built entirely on platform. So there really isn't any integration required to connect this with your Service or Sales Cloud instances. And, the beauty of that is that 360-degree view you're getting of your customers in Service Cloud, you can extend that out to your field teams, ensuring they're giving that delighted, next level customer experience that people are really coming to expect instead of it being a nice to have.
Well, let's talk a little bit about how automation improves field service management.
Automation is a huge piece of the field service solution. So there's so many factors, like I mentioned, that go into executing out in the field. Does the tech have the right skill set? Can they actually, help the customer? Are they, physically close to the location? We obviously don't want to be, sending techs all across town if we don't need to. Other factors such as, maybe a customer prefers a certain tech to come on site. And then also, does that tech have all the materials with them to actually complete the work? We see, maybe a plumber doesn't have all the right equipment on his truck that given day. Definitely don't want him assigned to go complete a job that requires that missing equipment. So all those factors really multiply, together and make it hard to find, what is that perfectly optimized schedule. And automation is key. And of course, there'll always be some need for a human element. But automation can really ease that burden on the dispatcher and help guide them towards scheduling that really helps your business and ultimately your customers in the most efficient way possible. And, I one time saw a stat when I was learning about field service in the beginning. And if you look at dispatching as a math problem, the need for automation and optimization becomes really clear. So, for example, let's look at one field tech and 6 different appointments in a day. That, sounds pretty simple and straightforward. But if you actually do the math there's 720 different combinations for how we could go about completing those appointments with that one tech. If you think about, the human element in that would take a long time to figure out with all those different factors going in, what is the perfect combination that we should go with? What's the one out of that 720 different possibilities that we should pick? So that's where the automation and optimization really comes in. And, you can imagine as you scale and grow, that number of 720, grows exponentially. There's millions, billions of different options. So that automation and optimization piece really can kind of bridge that gap and ensure that you are, picking the right appointments for the right times and, finding that right combination that's ultimately going to help your customers and your business complete that work.
Well, speaking of numbers, I would assume there are many, 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 many more use cases than the 3 I'm going to ask you to talk about for automation within field service. So let's talk about these 3 that I've isolated. The first one is automate scheduling and dispatching to deliver service faster. Tell us a little bit about how that would benefit a user.
One new exciting solution that we have is called Appointment Assistant, and we're seeing a lot of our field service customers go with this solution. And part of what that offers is that fully automated process for a customer. So that enables them to go online, select their own appointment, and then in the background, that Salesforce Field Service Optimization engine is going to find that right tech with the right equipment and the right availability to actually fulfill that appointment. So you do have the ability to kind of fully automate that process instead of, calling into a dispatcher and figuring out who the right resources is. You can let the optimization and the automation do all the work, which really empowers your customers, with the ability to schedule whenever they want and do it in one phone call or one interaction on your website.
Another use case for automation within field service would be speeding up the time at a job site. What would we see there?
So there's several different ways we can do this. And, we do know that drive time, that per appointment travel time is such a critical KPI for pretty much every field service organization. And, we have a few different ways that we can help impact this KPI. There's aerial routing, which is going to compute the shortest distance between 2 locations based on a straight line, so kind of as the crow flies. We also do street level routing, which is going to compute the distance along roads or transportation routes. It's based on actual road speed measurements and the expected travel speed based on the type of road. We also have predictive travel. So that builds on top of that street level routing, and it incorporates time of day data into the calculation. So, is it rush hour or, is this generally a busy time on this road? We'll factor that into, what that drive time is actually going to be. And then lastly, we also have point-to-point predictive routing. So that's going to estimate travel time using the exact service appointment location, and it also considers that time of day. So that's the routing that is used across all scheduling and optimization operations within field service.
And the third use case for automation within field service I wanted to chat about was actually a word everybody loves, and that's workflows. How do workflows get simplified to improve those first-time fix rates, if you will?
Yeah, with the Salesforce Field Service mobile app, which is available offline, your field techs, those teams that are actually performing the services for your customers on site, they've got the power of Salesforce right in their pocket. So, historically where, maybe they're taking an order sheet and going out into the field and reading whatever the agent or dispatcher has told them about, and, that's static information there. The field service app really offers a lot more. They've got those work types that guide them through that step-by-step process of, exactly how to complete whatever type of work they're doing. They have access to Salesforce knowledge articles. Maybe it's a one-off scenario that they haven't dealt with before. You could have knowledge articles surfaced right there on the mobile app to guide that tech how to fix that problem, ensuring they're not going to have to come back again. Another thing I'm seeing a lot in the space right now is companies looking at a solution called Visual Remote Assistant. Now, this is Visual Remote Assistant, or VRA, is kind of like a screen sharing solution that we offer. ADT is probably our most famous user of this, and they use it, when your home security system breaks and you call into customer service, they're able to actually, within Salesforce, initiate a screen sharing session. They can see exactly what the customer sees and kind of troubleshoot them how to fix whatever may be going wrong with their system. And they've had a ton of success with that. They've seen a reduction in actually having to dispatch techs to go repair those issues by 80%. So that's kind of like the more straightforward use case. But something I'm seeing a lot of interest in is using the same tool to support techs in the field. So a lot of the companies, with this great recession are dealing with, a lot of new techs that are, getting into the field for the first time, and they want to make sure they've got all the tools and all the ability to actually, fix the issue that first time out. And they're using VRA to kind of call back to head office and visualize, with that experienced dispatcher, with a more experienced tech, to walk them through how to fix something that they maybe haven't dealt with before. Do it all on site without having to send another truck and another resource to get that done.
One thing I'm curious about, George, is decision making. How would automation within field service improve that? I would assume data in real time would play a big part of that, correct?
Oh, yes, real-time data and making adjustments on the fly. That's an area where field service really does shine. And getting that real-time data definitely has major impact there. I talked kind of previously about the power of the optimization engine and its ability to analyze all those complex parameters, tech skills, location, drive time, and so on. Well, let's take a look at some things that happen in the real world. Let's say a dispatcher has used the optimization engine, and we've laid out the perfectly optimized schedule for a day, but something comes up. Maybe a tech's child gets sick, or an appointment takes longer than expected. That kind of disrupts this perfectly laid out plan that we've set out for the day. So, historically, that situation, is going to send dispatchers scrambling for coverage and trying to figure out the best way to service those remaining appointments and, minimize the impact of that unexpected event. You don't want that affecting your other customers if you can. Well, with field service, that optimization that was used to, generate that schedule in the first place can be used in those urgent situations as well. So it can quickly take into consideration all those factors, figure out, hey, how can we take this event that could possibly have a huge impact for the day, a huge negative impact on the day, and minimize that effect, all with that automation and optimization assisting and ensuring, hey, we're going to meet as many of our SLAs and as many of our customer expectations as possible.
Now, I would also assume that field service automation helps improve customer retention. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And it does that in a lot of different ways. There's the unseen ways to the customer that happen behind the scene that ensure, hey, the right tech is coming. They're arriving when we're expecting them to arrive. They do have the ability to fix my problem, and they're able to do it on that first time. But additionally, customers can now get that, DoorDash or Uber-like real-time location experience that's starting to become, expected and not just a nice to have, like I mentioned. So with appointment assistant, something a lot of our field service customers are adding on, you're able to see on your phone, you can get text notifications. Hey, here's the driver who's on your way. It's Alan. He's 20 minutes away, and here's where he is on a map, getting that real-time location. So, that experience is something, customers are expecting, and, we're able to offer with field service, and definitely helps with customer retention.
What about new revenue opportunities? How does automation within field service contribute to that?
Something I've been seeing a lot lately with companies using field service is, the desire to turn it into a revenue center. Traditionally servicing your customers is that cost center. But, how does field service really do that? So, as I mentioned before, it's totally built on the same platform as your sales or service cloud instance. So, it's really easy for field techs to, you know, create an opportunity, launch a flow to notify a sales rep of something that may be, worth pursuing. Additionally, some customers are taking it even a step further. So, let's think about an example of, an elevator inspector. Legally, buildings are required to have their elevators inspected at, certain periods of time. Well, when that elevator tech goes out and makes the inspection, they may notice some other, things we can do for the customer. Maybe, this door is not out of compliance, but it could use some repair. Maybe they're a good candidate for a preventative maintenance program. Well, with field service, you can actually empower your techs to quote in the field and get that existing business, while they're actually there to repair something.
Obviously, and you spoke about this a moment ago a little bit, the mobile component plays a huge role in field service automation. Can you talk about some of the standout functionalities of the mobile experience?
The one huge one I think I mentioned earlier, offline capabilities, that is huge for a lot of our customers. A lot of times these field teams are working in remote areas with no Wi-Fi, no cell phone service, and giving them the ability to still access and update all that Salesforce data, despite not having that connectivity is a major win. That's really going to help that first time fix rate and just ensure field techs have everything they need to do the work in the field. It's going to help your data hygiene and really assist that process there. In addition to just the offline capabilities too, that power of Salesforce in your pocket is huge. You have that same, customer 360 as, your service agents or your sales teams that really empower them to give that seamless experience your customers are looking for. And then the automation is right at their fingertips. If a certain event happens during the appointment, like the new opportunity being identified or perhaps another appointment needing to be scheduled, a field tech can quickly initiate those, launching a Salesforce flow, to really automate and connect that experience and help the customer even faster.
George, the last point I just wanted to kind of get to the bottom of here was, we've talked a lot about how field service automation helps companies and in particular the employee experiences. What about the customer experience? Can you talk a little bit about how they benefit from this?
Yeah, so at Salesforce, we are a customer-centric company, and everything we do and everything that we build has the customer as the top of mind. So we really strive to help our customers also become customer-centric. So we built this from the ground up with delighting customers as the primary goal. Customers get those benefits at several levels. The solution's built on platform, as I mentioned, so that means connecting all your customer data to that field service process. Doesn't require any integration. Customers benefit because the techs, the dispatchers, the service agents, anyone at your company can get that same 360-degree view of your customer, ensuring the entire company knows exactly what the customer needs and exactly how to help them. At a more micro level, too, you can look at the dispatcher experience, and with those optimization, visualization, and automation at their fingertips, they're able to quickly ensure the right techs are there, showing up at the right appointments, resulting in that, improved customer experience. Then you take a look at the field tech experience with that mobile app. They've got all that data, all that history, all the power of Salesforce right there at their fingertips. They have all the information on how to complete the work right at their fingertips, ensuring they're doing that in one visit, helping that customer experience. And then, let's take a look specifically at what the customer may see. There's with Appointment Assistant, there's that ability for customers to schedule their own appointment. So, regardless of what time of day or what time of night it is, customers can quickly, go on a website and find the appointment time that works best for them, that also works best for your company. And then with that, that DoorDash real-time location type of experience, we can also, figure out where is my, tech right now? When will they be here? What's their name? What can I expect when they arrive? You can really keep your customer in the light and provide all that information and all that data that's really, giving them that great experience.
George, I just got to tell you a funny story as we wrap this up. A little while ago, you brought up an elevator tech. Well, as life would have it, my best friend in the entire world has been an elevator tech for nearly 30 years now. And his company, which is a company here in the Northeast where I'm located, been around forever. They just, within the last year and a half, have started using Service Cloud and Field Service Automation. And he was telling me the other day, he was like, this has just been such a great experience. And now I'm getting to retire. we didn't have it for all of these years. And now I'm retiring. But he's enjoyed using it, in the last year and a half or so. So when you brought up the elevator tech thing, I just had to throw that in there for you.
Oh, that's George, great. Yeah, I wish he had it earlier, and glad it's making his life a lot easier.
It is. It is for the remaining time that he has. George, thank you so much for joining us today to talk about Salesforce Field Service Automation. I'd love to have you back. I know because, Salesforce is always making upgrades to their platform. And so please come back when we can talk a little bit about some cool things that Salesforce has added to field service and field service automation. Okay?
Yeah, I'd love to do it, Mike. And thanks for having me today.
Hey, if this is the first time you are listening to our Salesforce Simplified podcast, I would be extremely grateful if you'd give this a 5-star review, and I know George would as well, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And you can also subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. We're on all of the channels. I'm Mike Boyle from Advic. Thank you for listening to the Salesforce Simplified podcast. As always, our next episode is just around the corner.
We're glad you stopped by. You've been listening to Salesforce Simplified, the podcast from Ad Victoriam Solutions.